Okay guys, I'm back. I am so excited. I finished my pattern and as you can see I am now cutting on my real fabric and I'm like, it's becoming a reality now. I'm getting it done. So I wanted to say first that the pattern fit me all except for in the back, right under my shoulder blades and right to my waist. And so what I did there is I simply just took from, as you can see, I don't know if you can see this line right here, this red line right here. That's where I have it starting the 5/8 inch seam for 5/8 inch for the seam. Well, I already had almost 5/8 inch on the back, um, and so instead of leaving that way, I just started past the 5/8 inch and added another 5/8 inch. So let's say it was right to here where I've got my line marked, okay? I just added another 5/8 inch since it was on the very back seam in the middle, and then that way I could tailor it to myself, especially since I am putting a zipper on the back. Now this is the side piece, and I've been marking it, and I wanted to show you how I did that. So this top right here, I have the seam allowance, some seam allowance on it already, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from this seam allowance and measure it, and I've got my ruler right here that I used to measure it, okay? And you take, and what I did was I counted the 1/8 inches. So I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I marked that fifth one, okay? And that's what most seams are, where as you see them in patterns. So that's what I did. So I just laid it on there on the seam right here on this red line where I've got it, and I know it looks like it's not going to the edge of the fabric, and it's not because I already got a little bit of seam on here, okay? But I put it right there, and then I just mark the part that's on there, okay? Because the lines are only right here, they're not on the rest of it, and I'm afraid that if I mark all the way across, then it will be a different thing. So I just put a little mark there. So I put a little mark, I move it over a little bit, making sure that my 5/8 inch is on this red line I've got here, and that's where it's going to be sewn on, okay? I'm going to sew it on the 5/8 inch. So then I just mark it a little bit right there on one side, the side where the line is, so that I don't get mixed up and make a mess of things. I'm just going to keep doing that. And you do little bitty lines. Another reason is because when you've got curves like this, you have to follow those curves. And so, oops, yeah, see, now I messed that one up. I wasn't paying any attention. 5/8 inch, no wonder it looks terrible. Okay, and then you just go to the next spot. Make sure that that 5/8 inch line is right in the middle of the red line, which is where you're going to be sewing. Okay, I'm going to do another one right here. And if you can see this, which I'm not sure if you can you? You kind of like to follow just that little bitty mark, so that when you get to the end, I'm going to use this side, lay it flat, and just do a tiny mark so that you can put all the marks together afterwards. Now, you can put all the marks together and just kind of curve it from mark to mark if you want to, or you can just sew it from mark to mark. I'm probably going to sew it from mark to mark on most of mine, but if you're unsure about what you're doing, by all means, just mark it from, just make a line from one mark to the next. Do not worry about making a line right here, because this is going to be on the inside of the fabric, because we're sewing right here. This is where our seam's going to be, and this right here, this is just the seam allowance, okay? And I will try and show you later how to French seam. You can probably look up a French seam online, but that's basically where you sew it back to back, about half of this 5/8, and then you fold it over and sew it again, so that seam actually has its own seam, so it will not fray. I might show you that later, or you can just look it up online. I'm sure it's everywhere. But when you come to over here where this mark is like this, I like to start at the mark at the very end right here, and make sure you put that right on your 5/8 inch and put a mark right there, because I like to make sure that this slight curve right here is going to fit exactly right there. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. Make sure you're on your marks. Set, go. No, I know, I'm just kidding. But anyways, the next thing that I'm going to be doing probably is making the corset. I might take some pictures, but I most likely will not show you the making of the corset because it's basically this, and I'm going to use this pattern, except I'm going to mark on the pattern where the corset would end at the waist, right down here somewhere where it would end at the waist, and then I'll just cut that on my other fabric that I'm going to be using for the corset. That's really all I have right now. Like I said, I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. So, till next time.